The theme for this TEDx event is Ordinary People, Extraordinary Ideas. So I started thinking, who do I know who's a normal person who has really great ideas? And not only that, who makes their ideas a reality? Who is a regular person who has helped the community or inspired someone? There's so many ways to be extraordinary. And as hard as I tried, I just couldn't think of anyone. I mean, obviously, there are a ton of people like that in Salida. They're everywhere. But I was drawing a blank. Then it hit me. I hang out with the most extraordinary people in the world, every day. I'm here to talk to you guys about my peers at the Crest Academy. People who don't know us Crest kids probably think that we're really ordinary, even though we go to an innovative school. And we are, for the most part. We can't wait for recess, we do our homework at the last minute possible, we do projects, we get really distracted in class and end up having random conversations that have nothing to do with what we were learning about. And we have some really extraordinary ideas. A couple of years ago, we tried to put a fee on plastic bags in Salida to discourage their use. That didn't end up getting passed with the city council because of all this boring stuff that I won't go into. So last year, we came up with the idea to wrap a really long plastic bag chain around S Mountain to show the people of Salida how many plastic bags they consume in one day. Right now, you're at a TEDx event that we organized. Doesn't that just go to show that some of the most ordinary people in the world, us kids, can have some of the most extraordinary ideas? Yeah. There's this tool called Heart's Ladder of Participation. It was originally created for children's rights in different countries, but it's interesting how you can apply it to the way I learn. I'm using it to talk about students doing projects and how the teachers are involved in the project. Basically, there are 8 levels. At the bottom, we have manipulation, which is where the teachers use the students to voice their own opinion, which might not necessarily be something that the student believes. Then we have decoration, which is where the teachers use the students to bolster something that they don't really understand. Tokenism, which is where it's obvious that the children were involved, but they had little choice about choosing the project and had little time to think about their own opinions. Assigned and informed, which is where the students tell the teachers what to do and how to do it, or no, the teachers tell the students what to do and how to do it, but leave the rest up to them. Then it gets a little better with consulted and informed, which is where the project was designed by the adults, but the students' opinions are taken seriously. Adult-initiated and shared decisions with children, where the children are involved in every process of the project and clearly understand what's going on. Then there's child-initiated and directed, which is where the children come up with the project and see the whole project all the way through, beginning to end, and the teachers basically just supervise. And at the very top, we have child-initiated and shared decisions with adults, which is where not only does the student come up with the idea for the project, initiate it, and direct it all the way through, they also do a project that somehow changes the way the adults think, thus changing their opinions and behavior. As a student, I feel that most of my projects are at that child-initiated and directed level, which is good, but I've always wanted to do one at that very top level, child-initiated and shared decisions with adults. I've always wanted to change the way my teachers, and maybe other adults too, think. But more on that later. I was reading this really great article about Dr. Roger Hart, who invented Hart's Ladder of Participation, and there's this quote that I love. It goes like this: "People think American children already have a lot of voice. I thought the same thing when I first came here. But having rights implies being listened to as well as speaking and being taken seriously. Being listened to is even more important than having the freedom to make a lot of noise." That quote really speaks to me because, as a student and as a person in general, I've always been really comfortable speaking my opinion. Anyone who knows me will tell you this. I make a lot of noise. Whether or not people are actually listening to me and taking me seriously is another matter altogether. Modern day society has a huge problem with listening to each other. All we want to do is talk, talk, talk. Oftentimes, we're not listening to a person talking, we're just waiting for our turn to talk. Do you ever think, oh my gosh, if they would just listen to me, I could fix everything? Well, imagine how we as kids feel. The more I see of the world, the more I am dissatisfied with the way that it's run, and the more ideas I get of how I can make it better. But the more I get ignored by adults, the more discouraged I become. Let's talk about the Crest Academy again. Now, I don't know if you've ever visited us at the Crest, but for those of you who haven't, our playground is basically a junkyard. Now don't get me wrong, it's completely the students' fault, and I absolutely love it. Half my education happened right there in that playground. There's a few basic rules that you need to follow if you're ever going to visit us at the Crest. Rule number 1, never face the same direction for more than 10 seconds. You always want to be on your toes, making sure that no one's sneaking up behind you with like a big stick or a dodgeball or something. I learned that one the hard way. Rule number 2, no tattling on each other. Nobody likes a snitch. It's one of those one for all and all for one, whatever happens in the playground stays in the playground kind of things. Rule number 3, never use words like weird or strange or abnormal. Nothing is ever considered weird. Whenever anything out of the ordinary happens, we just go with it. And believe me, some weird things have happened. Very creative things, but a little bit weird. For example, one time I walked out onto the playground and a bunch of 5th grade girls were huddled around a big pile of rocks. They had created something called the Rock Shack, which is where they would doodle cute little faces on the rocks, and then you could adopt a pet rock. They gave you the feeding instructions for the pet rocks and everything. And then it would sit on your desk and stare at you really creepily while you were trying to do your math. Another time, my friend Sam and I were talking about all the crazy things that happened at the Crest, and we decided that we would make a really great TV show. We called this imaginary TV show CDT Today, which stood for Crest Drama Television Today. And from then on, whenever anything weird or out of the ordinary happened, even though I'm not supposed to say that because that was rule number 2, we would go CDT Today, like one of those really annoying newscasters. Another time, I walked out onto the playground and a 5th grader named Colin, who just introduced the whole thing, was digging a big hole in the middle of the playground. I asked him what he was doing, and he was burying a time capsule. But that's not how he worded it. The way he worded it was, I'm collecting a box with all these people's random junk, and then I'm going to bury it, and 60 years in the future, some kids will dig it up and visit us in a time machine. And I was kind of like, okay, they're not going to need to visit us in a time machine, because hopefully in 60 years we'll still be alive. But I let him have his fun. And then there's the swing. There's a very specific way that we use the swing. You think you know how to use a swing, but you really don't. It hangs from 3 ropes from a tree, and it's kind of like a tire swing, except it doesn't have a hole in the middle. So someone sits on it, and then 2 people stand on either side, kind of violently throwing it back and forth, and then it swings through the air, and it's really alarming to watch. Meanwhile, someone stands by the tree, making sure that while this person is spinning around and swinging back and forth, they don't hit their head on the tree and die, or whatever. Hearing these stories, you're probably thinking, oh, what a sweet little group of kids, they sound so cute. Actually, no, you probably weren't thinking that. You were probably thinking something along the lines of, wow, that swing sounds like a safety hazard. But you probably wouldn't take us very seriously if you met us. I would like to argue that it takes a lot of creativity to come up with these things. And the same creativity that went into our playground also went into this. This is Bag It. I mentioned it earlier. We were learning about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, which for those of you who don't know, is this huge island of plastic in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that's twice the size of Texas. Super bad for the environment. And we got mad, so we decided we were going to do something about it. We were going to ban the use of plastic bags in Salida. Now that didn't end up getting passed, so then we tried to put a fee on plastic bags in Salida because no one likes paying for things. That didn't end up getting passed either. Finally, we came up with the idea to wrap a super long plastic bag chain around S Mountain, and the number of plastic bags we used in that chain is the number of plastic bags that people in Salida consume in one day, and it was quite a lot. We broke the Guinness Book of World Record for the longest plastic bag chain ever. Isn't it so cool that a bunch of kids put that together? Any kid can channel their insane, hyperactive creativity that drives adults crazy into really productive creativity, if you just give them support and the right tools. I've met a lot of interesting people at the Crest. I've met a boy who uses procrastination to help him concentrate, a girl whose passion is dancing, a girl who doesn't want to grow up, and so many more. You're going to meet them too. They're going to be presenting their TED Talks tonight. We're presenting to a lot of people in a really big theater, and that's really intimidating. Isn't it impressive that we showed up? And we're just kids. You adults need to start paying more attention to us, because without your love and support, we're not going to grow into these great adults with bright ideas, even when we're just running around and being crazy and driving you absolutely insane. Those insane kids are going to grow up to be the future leaders of the world. So encourage us and believe in us. Earlier I said that I wanted to do a project that would change the way adults think. This is that project. I hope that you, as parents and as teachers, can guide your kids to do great. Help them make their dreams come true. And then maybe, one day, you can look back and say, I'm so proud that they became what they are today. Thank you.